Good evening and welcome. My name is Dadisi Najib. I am the Public Works Hearing Officer. Today is Monday, August 25th, and this is a hearing. I'm the hearing officer for SF Public Works, and Cerise Waiters is our clerk for the hearing this evening. Just wanted to welcome everyone and let you know that this hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available afterward through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website, sfpublicworks.org. This is a virtual hearing. There is no sign-in sheet, so if you would like to receive information about the results of this hearing, please send an email to the email address listed on the hearing notice. We have 6 items to hear this evening for our public hearing. Order number 212010 to consider removal of 3 street trees. 2 replacement trees will be replaced by the adjacent property owners. 1 replacement tree to be relocated nearby due to non-standard sidewalk width adjacent to 822, 826, 834 Moultrie Street. Staff approved the removals and the public has protested. The next item is hearing order 212011 to consider removal of 1 street tree with replacement adjacent to 660 Chinnery Street. Staff approved the removals and the public protested. Next up is hearing order number 212012 to consider removal of 1 street tree with replacement adjacent to 4333 26th Street. Staff denied the removal and the applicant appealed. Next is hearing order number 212013 to consider removal of 1 street tree with replacement adjacent to 1645 Jones Street. Staff denied the removal and the applicant has appealed. And lastly is hearing order number 212014 to consider removal of 10 street trees with replacement. Trees can be replanted around the project site adjacent to 600 through 700 Velasco Avenue. Staff approved the removals and the public protested. I actually forgot to mention that before we get started with those hearing orders. We do allow members of the public to address matters that are within our department's jurisdiction but are not on tonight's agenda. So I will announce that when we get to that part. So my job as the hearing officer basically is to gather information for the hearing items, listen to your testimonies, and help our Director of Public Works make determinations. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward the findings from this hearing and make my recommendations to the director, and our director will make the final determination. Once the director's determinations are made, the department will notify you of them if you have provided your contact information. The hearing will proceed as follows for these 7 items. Well, actually 6 numbered cases. I'll ask public works staff to speak first and present their case. And there's no time limit for that portion of the presentation. Then I will allow the property owner or appellant or applicant to speak. Then lastly, if there are any members of the public or witnesses who want to speak, then they'll be allowed to speak. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes. The clerk will monitor the time for all speakers and will indicate when the speaker has 30 seconds left. If you are a party to this proceeding, I'll call on you to speak. And if you'd like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know before you speak. Then you'll have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. And if you're a member of the public or witness who wants to speak, wait for me to call for public comments. And then use Zoom's raise your hand feature if you're on a computer to put yourself in the queue to speak. If you are dialing in on your phone, dial *9 to indicate you're raising your hand. When it's your turn to speak, I will recognize you. And if you're on your phone and you're muted, please press *6 to unmute yourself. And if you'd like to use visual materials in your presentation, let me know before you speak. Then you'll have the standard 3 minutes to provide your comments. Comments and questions should be addressed to me and not to the department or the applicant. If you can't finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing. And if I feel a question is warranted, I'll ask the question. Once all comments are completed, I will close the item. We will now begin the hearing. At this time, we'll open the hearing to any public comments. Members of the public may make comments on matters that are within the department's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Are there any public comments at this time?
Yes,
there are
we
no-
have a hand
Oh,
by
okay.
Josh Clip. Go ahead and speak, Mr. Clip.
You hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I make this comments and all my comments tonight in my individual capacity as a member of the public and not in my capacity as a member of the San Francisco Urban Forestry Council. I've already testified before these hearing officers and at these hearings that San Francisco has one of the smallest tree canopies of any major city in the United States. Also, that we are failing our 2014 urban forest plan that called for 50,000 new trees by 2034. That we are failing our 2021 climate action plan, which called for 40,000 new trees by 2040, and that we're failing to put into practice the preservation and replacement policies that were called for in both of those plans. And in fact, we have not net gained a single street tree since 2017. By failing to net gain any new street trees and failing to implement the policies of preservation and replacement called for by our own city plans, we are continuing to degrade our city's climate resilience and community health and ecosystem services. We are essentially acting like it's the 1970s and we have all the time in the world to ensure our city's climate future, just business as usual. But we know better. We know it's not business as usual. And now, in addition to the fact that we're careening toward an unstable, dangerous climate future, we are as a country affirmatively backsliding. We're defunding clean energy. We're ramping up coal and oil production. We're slashing protections for our national parks and forests. And importantly, we're cutting funding for climate resilience efforts, including tree planting. Now is not the time for our city and our leadership to continue doing business as usual. It's the time to do everything we can to preserve and grow what we have, to preserve trees, to plant more trees, and to work together in partnership between city departments and the community that cares deeply about our city's future, a future that looks increasingly hopeless and resilience increasingly out of reach. We have to change what we're doing and meet this horrible moment in our country, in our world's history. Maybe we can't impact what happens on the streets of Washington, D.C. right now, but we can impact what happens on the streets of San Francisco. So while an administrative tree removal hearing like this may not feel like much, it's something, it's better than nothing, and it's one small thing that we can do in service to a more hopeful, more sustainable, and resilient future. And it's through this lens that I respectfully request we review and view the proposed tree removals in this evening's hearing. Thank you.
Does that conclude your comments, Josh? Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Yes, we have a
There's
hand
another hand
by
raised. Okay.
Noah. Go ahead and let me see. Okay, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I saw the notice on the tree on the corner of Jones and Broadway. So I read the notice and
Excuse me, Ms. Noah. We are not hearing the cases right now. This portion is for items that are not on the hearing case, that are not on the agenda tonight. So we haven't gotten to the actual cases yet.
okay, my apologies then. I
That's
can
okay.
I can wait till the end.
Okay, hold
Thanks.
on. Thank you. Are there any other persons who wish to speak about items that are in our jurisdiction but are not on the hearing tonight? Please raise your hand. Ms. Najib, I do
Yeah.
not see any other hands.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. If there are no more comments for items not related to agenda items tonight, then I'm going to go ahead and close that. And then we'll start on our first item on today's agenda, which is hearing order number 212010. This is for Moultrie Street. Public Works, are you ready?
Hi.
to make your
Yes.
presentation? Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Allegra Mautner. I am an urban forestry inspector with the Bureau of Urban Forestry, and I'll be the staff representative for the cases tonight. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm gonna do a presentation. The first section of this presentation is going to be kind of an overview of our removal process, and I'll just go over that one time and then we'll jump into each case, but you can consider all of that information that's presented during that first section to apply to all of the cases in the hearing. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Find the right screen. And just let me know if you can see it or if it looks like possibly the
Yes.
aspect ratio is a little bit funky. So let me try and do something here really quick. I'm going to switch my two screens so that you can see it better. Let me just a second. I think it's gonna monitors. Okay, give me just a sec. How's that? Can everyone see it?
Okay, yes, we can
And
see it.
you can see it a little bit more clearly, hopefully.
Yes.
But we're in slide 2 of it, so there we go. Great. Okay, so here we are. It is August 25th, 2025. This is the tree removal hearing. Just as a general overview, for the Bureau of Urban Forestry, Street Trees SF, our primary goal is to ensure safe, clean, and green infrastructure and the public right-of-way. The Bureau of Urban Forestry's mission is to preserve and grow the urban forest while balancing the safety and needs of a growing and evolving city. So in 2016, a ballot measure passed that transferred the responsibility for maintaining street trees and repairing tree-related sidewalk damage from property owners to the city. The passing of this measure created Street Tree SF, which is a citywide street tree maintenance program managed by the San Francisco Public Works Department. A $19 million annual set-aside of the city's general funds this Street Tree SF, and that fund grows every year, and I think is around $22 million at this year. So you should be able to see our urban forest map here. In preparation for Street Tree SF, a tree census was completed that inventoried and assessed the condition of approximately 125,000 street trees. The census data is being used to populate routine proactive tree pruning schedule for the city's nearly 125,000 street trees. This data has allowed us to prioritize areas of the city where the need for tree maintenance is highest, allowing us to allocate resources in those areas first. So those would be the red squares, which it looks like this is a previous slide that we don't have up here. But you know, we've gone through all of those red squares. So they are no longer on this map, which shows our updated pruning schedule. So it's important to note that safety is our #1 criteria when prioritizing trees and areas for maintenance. Our goal is to ensure everyone's safety in the public right-of-way. Once the Street Tree SF ramp up is complete and all street trees in San Francisco have been serviced, a schedule will be established where trees will be pruned on a 3 to 5 year pruning cycle based on the species and needs of each individual tree. So a tree establishes sorry, excuse me guys. This is my first hearing, so I'm just a little nervous. A tree ordinance establishes authorization and standards for addressing a wide range of issues regarding trees. San Francisco's Urban Forestry Ordinance is codified under Article 16 of the Public Works Code. So, our Article 16 Urban Forestry Ordinance states that removal permit is required to remove street trees, significant trees, and landmark trees. Important updates from February of 2022. If a department is removing a tree, a replacement is required within 20 days or the tree is added and tracked on a delayed replacement tree report. If a tree cannot be planted in situ, then it must be replanted at a nearby location. If a property owner, applicant is granted a removal permit for removal of a healthy tree, the department shall require a replacement tree of equivalent value to the one removed or impose an in lieu fee. Owner pays the difference between the appraised value of the subject tree minus the value of the replacement tree. The value of the replacement tree is based on the standard in lieu fee for a 24-inch box or installation replacement size. So these are our criteria for removal. In most cases, a tree removal permit will not be granted if the tree is healthy and structurally sound. Our tree removal criteria are as follows: dead, dying, and not thriving, a poor species for the location or growth is no longer sustainable, there is damage to private property or the tree is hazardous, the tree is small or less than 4 inches in diameter and the construction requires its removal, or the tree can be replaced in kind. The tree will be destabilized by construction, there is no feasible workaround, or the applicant must provide, of course, must provide sufficient supporting documents if this is the case. And if the tree is in good or fair condition, the applicant must pay the appraised value for the loss of the tree. In these cases, we would approve the removal. One, if a removal permit is granted, the property owner is required to plant a replacement tree and pay the difference between the appraised value and the new site based on the in lieu fee structure. If the site is to be lost and the tree is in good condition, the appraised value or an in lieu fee will be assessed, whichever is greater. If a tree SF removal, then Bureau of Urban Forestry must plant a replacement tree or locate a replacement site nearby and mark as a delayed replacement. If a removal permit is being granted to a property owner for removal of a dead or dying or hazardous tree, the tree is required to be replaced. But if there is not sufficient space, then no in lieu fee will be assessed and the property owner is not required to replace it offsite. So we'll get to the first order, Order 212010. This includes trees at 822, 826, and 834 Moultrie Street. To consider the removal of 3 street trees, 2 replacement trees would be replanted by the adjacent property owners, or maybe replanted by the adjacent property owners, and 1 replacement tree is to be relocated nearby due to non-standard sidewalk width adjacent to 822, 826, and 834 Moultrie Street. The staff approved the removals and the public has protested. So our first tree is the 822 Moultrie tree. The tree is a medium-sized tree between 20 and 35 feet tall. It had a DBH of 17, it has a DBH of 17 inches and the condition is considered very poor. The deficiency include extensive included bark and active branch failures, as well as past branch failures. I was called out to the site because there was significant sidewalk damage, which caused reported trip and falls and has the potential to cause further hazard to the public. And this sidewalk damage cannot be ameliorated without the destabilization of the tree. The tree also has codominant stems, which have significant included bark, which increases the risk of stem failure, and the tree has outgrown the narrow sidewalk. The replanting plan, I've been contacted by the property owner who's interested in replanting the site. We'll work with the property owner to allow an exception to our minimum planting width of 7.5 feet, because the sidewalk width is 7 feet. If the property owner cannot replant or isn't interested in replanting, then we would relocate a planting nearby as a standard practice. So as you can see here, this is the included bark of that poor union of those codominant stems. This is at a really elevated risk of failure. This amount of included bark and the weight that is on either of these stems just increases the risk of failure, especially with a species profile of the ficus species. There were active branch failures on the tree when I was out there. They're currently stable, but in a stormed condition could cause a failure in the future. And we see damage from trucks and low clearance of the tree, which is at risk of failure in the future. You can see here, all of these are locations of included bark or branches which are at an increased risk of failure throughout the tree. This is the sidewalk damage I was called out to inspect. You can see that the sidewalk is uplifted to such a degree that it can cause a significant risk. We have put in an asphalt patch, which should have been completed to ameliorate the immediate hazard. This cannot be shaved, sliced down, or ground down because you can see the complete underside. So that would make this just like an open pit. The minimum sidewalk width that we can allow is 4 feet, and this is already at that minimum. You can see the line where I said that you could open the basin, but even that will not be enough to deal with the root uplift that's occurring. And the tree is in such poor condition that if we do sidewalk repair right now, it would be a use of carbon resources, as well as monetary resources that would not make sense because this tree is likely going to be needed to be removed very soon due to other issues. And if we cut the roots that are on this side, then it will destabilize the tree because it is so close to the trunk of the tree. You can see on this side, this is all the sidewalk damage and concrete damage which has occurred. And so these roots will need to be cut for repaving as well. So cutting roots on both sides would severely damage the tree. And here's another view of the sidewalk uplift a little bit closer so that you can see. The second tree is 826 mole tree. This tree has also had reported trip and falls associated with it. This tree height is again between 20 and 35 feet. 19-inch trunk diameter, also in very poor condition. We have significant sidewalk and foundation damage that cannot be ameliorated without the destabilization of the tree. The tree has outgrown the narrow sidewalk. The tree also has codominant stems, which have significant included bark and which increases the risk of stem failure. You can see that there's a lot of weight. Also, this one's even taller than the tree to the north. And so all of this weight is on those codominant stems. The tree has a history of branch failure, and there's also girdling infrastructure. The property owner is the one who reported and wants to replace the tree. Again, we do grant exceptions to the non-standard sidewalk width to allow planting of trees on narrow sidewalks if the property owner is interested in that as well. And the property owner has made it very clear that they would love to plant a new tree here, and they're very sad to see this one go. So this is the concrete damage that was reported. You can see that there's significant uplift around the entire tree. You can see it even more on this side. Again, we can't shave this down. There's significant damage. The structural stability of the concrete is compromised. This is the codominant stem with the included bark, and all that weight is sitting on this poor union here. And you can see it from the side. This is not connected here, and we have a lot of weight, which is just at high risk of failure. And here's that girdling infrastructure that I discussed. This is eating into the tree and can destabilize the tree. It can not be removed without impacting the tree. The curb is also girdling the roots, which if the curb is, if and when the curb is removed for repair, that can destabilize the tree as well. And is cutting off needed resources to the top of the tree. I'm gonna just have some water. So our third tree is the 834 Moultrie. This tree is also medium stature, 20 to 35 feet, and is 19 inches in trunk diameter, has very poor condition, characterized by significant sidewalk and foundation damage that cannot be ameliorated without destabilization of the tree. The tree has outgrown the narrow sidewalk. There are codominant stems, as with the other trees, with significant included bark, which increases the risk of stem failure. The tree has a history of branch failure with girdling infrastructure. I have not been able to contact the property owners here. The neighbor has reported that the residents do have limited mobility, and it may be difficult to replant a tree. The Bureau would not replant on a non-standard width. So a location will be paved, and a replacement will be relocated nearby to allow for the site to be paved. You can see a major failure has already occurred here. This is the main stem. There's significant decay with termite evidence and other instances of another instances of decay. Here we have included bark between the two major stems, which is at risk of failure. You can see the girdling infrastructure and the significant concrete damage, which is impassable by residents and neighbors. And I should note that while I was on site, there were many people who were walking by. A person with a baby carriage had to walk around all 3 street trees in a row, walk out into the street, and walk along this street in the middle of the road while I was doing my inspection with their baby carriage. So it certainly is already causing safety hazards for the public in this area. You can see it's impassable. And the amount of roots that would need to be cut would impact the health of the tree and stability. And that's the end of this section. Do you want me to stop sharing? Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Thank you so much, Allegra. I appreciate that. So, to recap what she said before she began her presentation, from Public Works, she's only going to give this segment once, and this will apply to all of the
Yeah, this section, sorry, the section at the very beginning where it talked about our
Correct.
removal process. Yeah, but this section for this order is.
I got you.
Yeah.
Right, it's specific to this order. I got you. I just wanted to share that with everyone. Thank you so much. So concerning hearing for Moultrie Street, do we have the applicant present who wishes to make a presentation?
Sorry, there would be no applicant for this location. This was a BUF initiated
I'm
removal.
sorry.
Yeah, because it was just that
Thank you.
I was called out to inspect the tree by a resident, but this is a
Okay.
BUF initiated removal.
Okay, got you. Okay, I believe we have someone from the public that wanted to comment though, right?
I'm not sure.
Please use the raise your hand feature if you would like to speak concerning Moultrie Street. We have 2 hands. Go ahead, Mr. Clip. You will have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, but if you're able, are you able to turn your volume up a little bit for us?
Uh,
Thank you, Ms. Waiters. Yeah, it's a little faint, Mr. Clip.
is that better?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know why that always happens with you guys lately, but okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So I would just ask that a decision, which I assume will grant the removal permit, I just ask it to note 2 things. The first is the amount of tree diameter that we would be losing here, and the second is if the decision on the removal could note where this tree sits on the delayed replacement report. And I ask this for 2 reasons. Regarding the delayed replacement report, if the public has these numbers, if the department can share these regularly and we don't have to make a records request for a delayed replacement report and to try to sort of sort that out, even if it's just simply a number of where this tree is, what we are losing and the department cannot replace within the time set forth in Article 16, that would empower the community to use that information to encourage our supervisors and other representatives to provide more funding for tree planting. And then regarding the tree diameter, our climate action plan essentially asks for replacement policies that account for this, that account for replacing as much tree diameter as we're taking out. So again, I think this is on some of the decisions, but if this could be routinely included, again, this would help your public to be informed and to be better advocates for our urban forest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clip. Noted.
Okay, and then we have Mr. Nolte. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Good evening. Couple of things. What's similar to all 3 trees are the width of the sidewalk, the location on a narrow street, on the same street, in front of a single family house, each one of them, and also they're all ficus trees. So we have an order about ficus trees being removed, and that's what I see really is going on here. You have 3 ficus trees. We have done experimental trimming of ficus trees that's done on 10th Street and Hayes Valley, Mission, various parts of the city when you were trying to take out ficus trees. And I didn't hear any, except for the issue of the sidewalk, why there was not, and anything else that was said was just, again, a redundant of what was said in prior hearings about ficus trees, how the codominant stems and et cetera are the same issues here. So therefore, I didn't hear anything about trimming the trees so that the weight would be reduced, and also would help keep, as brought up by other people, that the diameter of the tree would stay, and therefore it would also help. Again, all I'm hearing is that you want to save resources by just taking out the tree, but then again, you're adding. You're not putting in a 24-inch box, was I understand from the presentation, but we don't know when that's going to go in. And also, since this is on buffs, so referral list to be replanted, that could, who knows how long that's going to take. So I would say that these trees, at least one or more of these trees should stay, because these are mature trees and they are giving something to the neighborhood, and also without looking at really looking at the sidewalk, I am sure you can be creative and deal with it in an appropriate manner. That's the end of my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nolte. Is there anyone else?
Yes, we have Brian Christensen. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
This is actually Magdalena. This is Brian Christensen's wife. He's in another meeting, so he can't be here. But I will just say that prior to the city taking control of pruning and maintaining the tree, I live in one of these homes. And so we've been here since 2001. And so anyways, prior to the city taking over, we pruned the tree. We had an arborist come, and no matter what we did, the tree roots just kept lifting the sidewalk. And so I know the previous gentleman said something that we could try some creative measures, but I'm telling you, before the city took over that, we took care of the tree. We maintained the canopy. We opened it up the canopy. Sometimes we didn't want to bring down the canopy, but even if you did a really hard prune, it just continued to grow. And yes, I realize in my lifetime, I'm not going to see another, that's probably how old this tree is, probably 50-some years old. And when we were talking when I met Miss Montaner, when she was out there inspecting the trees, we told her that we would be sorry to see the tree go, but it also is just lifting up the roots. I mean, lifting up the sidewalk. We can't go into our driveway, into our garage, because the car was cantilevered because of the sidewalk being up so lifted. And so it's also causing some other damage with foundation work. So I don't see any other way around it. And so I'm hoping that it goes through and after this hearing, and that we get another tree that's not going to be a monster, because it's just huge. And it's just, yeah. And I don't know if the photos do well enough in letting you know how slanted that sidewalk is, but anyways, that's my two cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Christensen. Clerk Waiters, do we have anyone else? I see a Noah.
Yes, we do. We have one other. Noah, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I haven't seen my tree come up, so I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk now,
This
but
is for Moultrie Street.
okay.
Are you here for Moultrie?
No, but I'd like to comment still, if that's okay.
Okay.
I'm
If
an
the
ethic
comment is
resident.
okay, if the comment is related to Moultrie, you may speak, yes, but the other cases we are not ready for yet.
Okay. So, I mean, looking at these, they do look quite large. And I think just based on the size of these trees, they represent a pretty valuable asset to the neighborhood. And I don't live in Bernal Heights or, nearby where these are, but I've been to those neighborhoods. I have these same trees nearby me. And I think just from my perspective, they're huge assets. Someone saying that this sidewalk is impassable, I think is quite an overstatement. I could easily walk past that tree, and I don't think it's a big deal, the sidewalk damage. These trees represent decades of growth. They're irreplaceable, and a sidewalk is replaceable in a day. So I think we have to consider that and really be careful about removing these, because they're a huge asset. And I'm sorry to the lady who just spoke and had to prune the tree all the way back to the early 2000s. I empathize with her, and if she's a homeowner there, then I feel your pain for some of this. But it kind of breaks my heart to see these being considered to be, I don't know if they're going to be chopped down or removed. I mean, thinking about removing these looks like, I don't even know if you can remove this tree and relocate it. I don't think it's possible without destroying it. So, I mean, destroying trees of this value just it's horrible. I mean, it's really horrible to see something like this being considered. Again, don't want to erase decades of growth. I mean, these are irreplaceable benefits for the neighborhood and for the property values, not to mention, you know, they look nice. They're beautiful assets to the neighborhood. So that's all I'll say about these two. Thanks.
Thank you, Noah. Is there anyone
Yes,
else?
thank you. No, there is a hand raised, but if you've spoken, you will only be allowed to speak once.
Okay, let's hear. It may be Mr. Christensen this time. I think she said she was waiting for him to finish something.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Mr. Christensen. Sorry, I was joining a little bit late. I absolutely agree with what the last speaker said. It is heartbreaking. We love these trees on this street, but this idea that they are making this sidewalk extremely difficult to pass is absolutely true. This example we're looking at right here is not one of the worst ones. I've seen the mailman almost just completely stack, trying to get over around the one in front of our house. I've also seen people pushing strollers where they push the stroller out into the street to get around it and then back onto the sidewalk again, which I know is not great. I don't know also if my wife that mentioned the infrastructure damage that's basically happening where it's going underneath, at least for our house, it's going underneath the corner of the house and has already lifted up the entire foundation on one side by about 2 inches. It's a rippling crack all the way through the inside where you can actually see that the tree has gotten underneath the foundation and is lifting up the entire corner of the house, as well as one of the branches going straight toward the sewer main. I haven't dug up around the sewer main to see it yet, but one of them that's probably an 8-inch around root heading straight toward the huge sewer main. And not to mention the fact that you can't actually, at least in our house, you can't get vehicles in or out of the garage because of the sidewalk. They get high centered. I had to have a car towed because that happened to our car. So I absolutely hate to see these trees go. I absolutely want to see them replanted. I think the neighbors who are losing trees, we're all going to replant trees. But I also know that these trees were not meant to be in this location. They're basically destroying all the infrastructure around wherever they're sitting. And I know throughout the city, this tree in particular, they're taking them down because they are such a huge problem.
Does that conclude your comments, Mr. Christensen?
It does, unless anybody has any questions.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you so much, though, for your comments. Appreciate it from both you and your wife.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more comments on this item?
I don't see any other hands at this time.
Okay.
Did you want me to respond to any of the comments?
If you feel that you need to respond to any of them, I think you covered everything well. I'm gonna go back and
Okay.
listen to this anyway, and if I have any questions, I'll ask you.
Great.
Later on. Thank you so much, Allegra. Really appreciate that. If there are no more comments on order number 212010 concerning Moultrie Street, I'm gonna go ahead and close this item number and move on to the next one. We have quite a few to hear this evening. So the next one is hearing order number 212011 to consider removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 660 Chinnery Street. Public Works, are you ready for your presentation? Thank you, Ms. Allegra.
Yes.
Thank you.
So this is order 212011, 660 Chinnery Street. This is to consider the removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 660 Chinnery Street. A staff has approved the removals and the public has protested.
Okay.
So this is fairly similar to the previous cases in that we have another ficus tree, which is unfortunately planted in a site that was not meant to support such a large tree. The tree is tall, mature, over 35 feet tall. The DBH is 14 feet and the condition is poor. The tree has poor structure due to the species profile and past pruning practices, with poor vigor and limited growth in response to the wounds and branch failures that have occurred. We have included bark and past pruning practices which have caused poor structure in the tree. The major deficiencies include basal root deficiencies where the sidewalk is girdling the tree and the tree is at elevated risk of root failure once the concrete is removed and the roots are cut to deal with the sidewalk damage. The tree has been identified as a safety hazard following a recent incident in which an individual sustained an injury due to conditions directly associated with the tree's present condition, and removal is recommended to mitigate further risk to the public safety. I should add that the person was sent to the hospital in this instant, and it was a very severe injury. So we definitely consider it an immediate hazard. And although we have done as much as we can to ameliorate that immediate hazard through temporary sidewalk fix and rerouting of foot traffic, in the longer term, the roots do need to be cut in order to fix the issue with the sidewalk. And that to be consistent with similar how the department has handled similar cases in the past, our bureau recommends this tree for removal. And that's the end of this portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Allegra. Do we have members of the public who wish to make a comment? This is your chance to speak. See, we have 3 raised hands.
We have Marion. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I live in that building and I lived there for many years. And with the previous speaker, the roots, before the city took over, the roots did break into our sewer line there. And it really caused really extensive damage to not only to the sidewalk, but also to the sewer line. So that had to be repaired. And then as the tree grew, years later, I mean, yes, I can agree with the other speakers. It is a beautiful tree, but it's just way overgrown. And just in that small little area, I feel sorry for the tree to be like smushed up in that one area. And at one point, the branches were going into the building, the windows, like the branches were into the windows and over the roof. And we were getting roof rats jumping onto the roof. I can, hear that. And then also the canopy was leaning over the street where the tree was getting damaged by the passing trucks and buses. So that too, I was concerned for the tree. But yes, I do approve the removal. I'm sorry to say that, but as it was stated, there is a replacement, and I understand other speakers, it's going to take years for it to grow. But yes, just to have and see this person, I did see that person after his fall from the lifted sidewalk. He basically bashed his head into the trunk of the tree. I mean, it was so wide. There's really he either was going to hit the window or hit the tree. And unfortunately, he had a big gash on his head. And I also, a woman across the street, there was a client that had tripped over the sidewalk 4 years ago, and she broke her arm. And I didn't hear about it until just recently when she saw that the tree was going to be removed. And she was also in favor of, besides getting the sidewalk fixed, but the tree was way too overgrown. But that's it for now. I just feel like I'm sorry that about, with the climate action plan, but in this instant, in front of this building, it's
30 seconds.
okay. In this instant, I feel like it's not appropriate to be in this little area. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Marion, for your comments. Is the next available person who is ready to speak or make comments from the public?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I would just like to reiterate my comment in the previous matter about including information about where the tree sits on the delayed replacement report.
Mm-hmm.
So the DBH. I would also just note that these ficus trees all over our city, which comprise, I want to say 6 to 7% of our canopy overall, these were planted by the city. And as a matter of fact, these were planted by cities all up and down the West Coast in the 70s and the 80s, because someone got the genius idea of planting them, because as it turns out, ficus trees are really tough. You don't have to do much for them to flourish and to grow. So planting these wasn't a choice by the property owners, or this was our city. Well, if our city were to put up light posts up and down our streets and sidewalks that routinely fell over and hurt people, we'd take them down too. But we wouldn't just say, well, these are dangerous, we're going to take them out, and sorry, no more lights for you. But that's kind of what's going on here. We're differentiating between gray infrastructure and green infrastructure. And we're saying pretty clearly that we only prioritize one and not the other. And that's exactly why we keep losing trees and not replacing them and not doing all we can to preserve them. And I'm not saying that we need to save this particular tree. I actually think that this is a pretty strong case for not saving this particular tree. But what I am saying is we need to get a little more serious about how we move forward on what we're going to do to preserve and grow our urban canopy. And that in this instance, and with all ficus trees, I believe needs to include taking responsibility as a city for our actions in the past that got us to this place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clip. Do we have another speaker?
Yes, we have two others.
Okay.
Mr. Nolte, go ahead.
Yes, good evening again. I have to say again that, again, as the prior speaker said, this is, a good percentage of our trees are ficus trees throughout the city, and they were planted by the city in 1960s, 70s. And therefore the city should take responsibility for something that they did. And then also here, there's not that much of a lift here, so I don't see the damage to the sidewalk. All I hear is about somebody fell because of again, it's because DPW took over the sidewalks and obviously did not fix this sidewalk at an appropriate time in an appropriate manner. So this is really the fault of the person that was harmed, would be suing the city because the city is negligent in fixing the sidewalk. So it's not the tree's fault, it's the city's fault for not fixing the sidewalk. And as far as again, all I see is a picture of a circle around the sidewalk, but that's it. So therefore, really, it didn't go into the details of what's wrong with really the tree, other than as in the prior case about it being a ficus tree, and of course, when you have ficus trees, they're going to be hit by trucks and they're going to be hit by cars going under them. So it's given with any tree of any height over 10 feet. It's going to, of course, going to be limbs going out to the sidewalk. Going out to the street, so they're going to be hit by the passing cars, buses, and so forth that are up to 10 feet or more. So of course that's going to happen. So then we go to the other slide, and unfortunately, again, it's a pruning issue when you say that the tree went into the roof and into the windows and so forth. And again, that is the fault of, again, the city, because now the city's had for several years the responsibility of fixing this tree or cutting or trimming this tree. And like I said before, we've had hundreds of ficus trees in front of this hearing, the DPW tree removal hearings, and we've saved
30
money
seconds.
because of how we were able to trim the trees and save them from being removed. So I would re-examine this tree and see if alternatives can be done for this site. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nolte. Next up.
Hi, it's Noah again. Thanks for giving me some more time. I agree with the last guy. I think you're literally blaming a tree for someone getting hurt. It just sounds so ridiculous. I'm in disbelief hearing that someone went to the hospital because of a tree and not because of their own misdeeds or whatever they were doing. I don't know what was happening, but the fact that a tree is being blamed for a guy breaking his head open is just beyond me. I mean, you have to be kidding me on that. I'm dumbstruck by that. But these ficus trees, I'm learning on this call that the city planted these, and that's I think an important piece of information. These are on Hyde Street as well, near where I live, and they're amazing. They're really amazing, and it's again very sad to hear that you're gonna either relocate or chop this tree down or destroy it, whatever is being planned to remove the tree. I don't really hear the plans around what you're going to do to remove the tree, if it's going to survive, where it's going to go, and the plan of replanting doesn't sound very good either. See very little detail on how you're going to replace it. I really appreciated the last caller's mention of that these trees are tough, and I know that they are. Most of them are surviving on Hyde Street, and they provide amazing, cover from the sun. If those trees were not on that street as they are in this street, it would change the entire character of the neighborhood. It would completely change everything. It would be so much more boring, and removing greenery from streets like this just makes it so much worse. I mean, having a tree like this at this level, to finally have a tree that's 50 years old is irreplaceable. I'll say it again. I can't believe that we're blaming a tree for someone's injury. That is so stupid. And I see a tiny bit of cement that's being uplifted. It's not a big deal. This is so ridiculous that the sidewalk is being used as a justification here, or a guy hitting the tree or something, or people driving by and hitting some of the branches. Like these are not big deals. This took 50 or 60 years to grow. Do you know how old that is? That's older than most of the people on this call. I'm like, just have some respect for this living thing that was planted by the city. I'm sorry I'm getting upset, but I'm in disbelief at some of the reasons here that, they've stood for that many years. I don't see them falling in their current state, how big they are. I'm not an arborist or anything, but it's just, I think these can be managed appropriately and responsibly by the city. That's all I'll say. Thanks.
Thank you, Noah. Ms. Allegra, I have just a couple of quick questions. I know that there's a plan to replace this tree. Do we know where that is on the delayed replacement report?
Yes, I'll answer that question.
Okay.
So it won't be added to the delayed replacement report unless we haven't planted it within 120 days of the removal of the tree. So it is planned to be replaced, and because the sidewalk width is wide enough, we're looking at a small stature tree that doesn't have as invasive roots because of the limited soil space, but hopefully can add benefits like, habitat benefits, as well as, maybe flowers or berries for local pollinators and birds and bees and such. A similar species that does well, that has been planted in similar spaces nearby and has done well is the hawthorn. So that's our primary choice at this point. So we do have plans to replace the tree. And if we are unable to replace the tree within 120 days of removal, that is when we would add the tree to the delayed replacement report. But hopefully we would be able to replant the tree following, or one of our, planting partners that we fund, such as Friends of the Urban Forest, may take it on as a replacement site. So, yes.
Thank you for answering that so thoroughly. And then one other quick question was, it kind of came up and I just wanted you to address it. When we remove the trees, they are, that's the end of the tree, correct? It's not, we're not taking out the root ball or the root ball and replanting the tree somewhere else. Trees of this size anyway.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's
Okay.
it. That's correct. Yeah, because the tree is such a large size, you would need to remove soil volume that's equal to 2 times the trunk diameter in
Mhm.
feet. So this one is 14 inches, so we'd have to go 28 feet around the soil volume and pick up that amount of soil volume. And
Mhm.
even then, if we were to lift the tree up and remove all the soil for 28 feet surrounding this tree, it would only have like a 50% chance of survival at that point. So it's just not feasible for most trees when we have, especially when we have sidewalk damage, because they're usually of a significant size.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't have any other questions for you at this time on this matter. Were there any other questions from the public, or was that it? Was Noah the last one? I'm sorry, I'm not able to see, the folks who are raising their hands.
There are no other hands at this
Okay,
time.
okay, excellent. Well, that being said, I'm gonna go ahead, and if there are no other comments from the public on this matter, I'm gonna close out hearing number 212-011 for Chinnery Street. Okay, next up is order number 212-012 to consider removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 4333 26th Street. Staff denied the removal and the applicant has appealed. Allegra, are you ready for your presentation? Oh,
Yes.
it says postponed up here. What is that?
Yes. So I was just about to explain that. So
Okay.
this particular tree was improperly posted for the hearing and the public was not notified with enough time to allow them to attend the hearing properly. So we'll have to postpone this. We will be postponing it to next week's hearing
Okay.
I believe on the 3rd. And we will be posting the tree to reflect that. So this particular case will not be heard tonight.
Okay. Thank you. So we are postponing 212-012 at 4333 26th Street. Okay, great. Moving right along. Next up is hearing order number 212-013 to consider removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 1645 Jones Street. Staff denied the removal and the applicant has appealed. Public Works, when you're ready.
Yes, so we have hearing order 212-013, and that's 1645 Jones Street, to consider the removal of one street tree with replacement adjacent to 1645 Jones Street. The staff has denied the removal and the applicant has appealed. So this is the subject tree. It's a Brisbane box, Lophostomen convertus. It is estimated over 35 feet tall, has a 12-inch trunk diameter, and is in good condition. There do not appear to be any significant structural issues. The tree has good vigor and good branch unions. There is minor sidewalk uplift, which can be corrected without significant damage to the tree, and not clear, and some of it is not even clearly caused by root uplift. And some of it is far from the trunk and may not be attributed to the tree, depending on what is found when the sidewalk is removed. The tree does have a minor lean, which has been corrected by the tree over time, and there's no evidence of destabilization relating to this lean. I did appraise the tree at $4,000 if the tree is to be removed. So this is an interior shot of the canopy of the tree. You can see here that it has very strong U-shaped branch unions. So although there are multiple trunks, unlike some of the previous trees that we saw where there was included bark and V-shaped branch unions, these ones are stronger because of the shape of them. So even though it's there's codominant stems, they are stable. We do have some minor sidewalk damage, but it's far from the tree. It can't necessarily be attributed to the tree, and we would be fixing that. We would, demo the sidewalk to fix any sidewalk damage, and there do not seem to be any major uplift that cannot be corrected through root shaving or targeted root pruning or expansion of the basin into the right of way, excuse me. The lean of the tree is somewhat, you can see the lean of the tree. That lean has been present since 2013, which is less than 4 years after the planting and was 12 years ago. So because it was so long ago that the lean was first established, and this is just the oldest photo that I have of the tree after planting. Once it had its lean, and you can see that even in 2013, the tree was already correcting for the lean, which tells us that it's creating reactionary roots, reactionary wood, and a stabilizing structure to account for that lean. This is the tree as it is today. You can see that the lean has corrected, so the tree is growing upright following that initial lean. You can also see that the lean does not extend further into the right-of-way than the actual edge of the basin and existing vegetation. So this means that even a person with a seeing eye, cane, or limited visual awareness would encounter the basin prior to and would adjust their path of travel based on that basin expansion. And even if I'm almost sure that the lean where it exists is within the current basin, and even if it's not, during our sidewalk demo and replacement, we can expand the basin to include that so that it is very clear to those who are visually impaired where the edge of the safe sidewalk passage is. Again, here we can see the lean was present. This is a photo from 2013. The lean was present, and you can see where the basin extends to, so that you can see that this area, which is leaning over the quote unquote path of travel, does not actually extend into the path of travel of where someone would be walking. So again, there's the corrected lean as you see it today, and the vegetation does help someone who is visually impaired to avoid that lean. So the applicant did propose a site for replacement. This is as you can see here, they said that this would be the location of the new street tree. Unfortunately, this planting location is not viable because they failed to show that the neighbor's driveway is actually right here, and so that basin would be on the neighbor's driveway. And we don't want to put a basin within about a foot of a driveway. So we can see here that this is not a very viable location. You can also see here that we have an existing adjacent tree crown, and that will be important in the next couple of slides. But I did want to show just like so that you could see from the street how the driveway does extend right to the edge of that property line. And so this this basin here that they're proposing is almost within that curb cut of the driveway. So here, the possible planting location. So there is another possible planting location here, which would be on the edge of the property on this side. However, we can see that this is not even comparable to the existing canopy of the tree. We can see the existing adjacent tree crown extends almost to where the trunk of that possible planting location would be. So this is what the expected mature canopy of the newly planted tree would be. And we can see here that there's a huge overlap, and this would cause growth suppression and also structural issues where branches would be running into each other and the below ground root system would be impeding the growth of the two trees that exist there. So we don't like to plant trees where the crowns will be overlapping because it weakens the tree and it reduces the canopy that's possible for that location. So this is not a comparable planting, and it would not be replacing the value of the tree that would be lost. Again, we can see here good spacing between adjacent trees. So we have this tree here, which is existing. This is the site location and the existing tree, which is proposed for removal. This spacing between these two trees appears adequate. So we can see that the canopies are just running into each other. They create a large space, growing space for the trees in both the canopy and the root system. And so we're able to see very well here what it should look like when we have properly spaced trees. This distance between the only possible planting location and the nearest tree is half of what is here on what we would recommend for the spacing of trees of this stature, which can be supported by this 15-foot public right-of-way. So when we have a 15-foot public right-of-way, we like to plant very large trees. And so we would want to plant them at least 20 feet apart, if not more. We would recommend even 30 or 35 feet between the trees to allow for appropriate spacing at maturity. So to be consistent with how we've handled similar cases in the past, the department has recommended the retention of this tree and the denial of the application for removal. Thank you, and this concludes this portion of the hearing, or of my presentation.
Thank you, Allegra. I appreciate that. Okay, next up, I think we have Mr. John Bradley. Who'll be presenting on behalf of the applicant. Ready when you are. Or Anthony Navarro. Mr. Navarro, I think our
I'm
clerk is
moving him
promoting you.
over.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm moving him over
Yes.
to be a panelist. But John, no, I cannot hear you yet. I need you to raise your hand so that I can pull you over, please. Thank you. Now, when both of you come over, you should be able, I will need you to unmute yourselves. Once again,
Hi, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
I'm getting the echo on the thing, so I'm gonna.
Are you on two different devices?
Yeah, I tried to do the *6 as mentioned, but hold on. Can you hear me on this one?
You'll need to hang up on one of them, but if you're sharing yours, okay, and
Yeah, and Anthony is sharing the screen.
it's gonna
So-
share the screen, so yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, and I want to start by saying that we have space to move the proposed street tree in, so it doesn't encroach into the neighbor's curb cut. But dear members and directors of the Department of Urban Forestry, my name is John Bradley with the AG Studio. The proposal seeks to remove and replace the existing Brisbane box street tree located at 1645 Jones Street. The project proposes replacing and replanting a new street tree that does not impede pedestrian traffic and brings the existing non-conforming sidewalk to code while also adding two approved new homes. The existing tree will be destabilized from the required utilities upgrade. We recognize that this is an existing street tree that is not considered imminent or high risk due to the corrected lien that is present. We do, however, have reason to believe that the existing tree is considered hazardous by terms defined in Article 16 of the Public Works Code. The existing pedestrian thoroughfare is impeded and considered hazardous by the street tree's 20-degree lean and the sidewalk's vertical lift, voids, and cracking. A hazard tree as defined shall mean any tree that poses an imminent hazard to person or property. Subsections 2 and 4 of this definition are present. 2, obstructs or damages street sidewalk other than existing structure. Within the thoroughfare, there is a vertical displacement and a cross slope exceeding 2%. 4, interferes with vehicular or pedestrian traffic. Due to site conditions, the existing current pedestrian thoroughfare is less than 3 feet in width at points. Both conditions are not in compliance with DPW requirements. After applicable maintenance, hazardous conditions are still present where pedestrians could hit their heads. The steep slope of Jones Street makes it more difficult to see the trees lean, especially if they are wearing a hat. And just a side note, my father just went through a craniotomy position surgery, and that becomes very dangerous in his situation. Vertical displacement, voids and cracks greater than 1/2 inch are present in the pedestrian thoroughfare. A cross slope is greater than 2%, pushing rainwater away from the street and forces rainwater to flow down the sidewalk. A wind tunnel that deposits fallen leaves at the site. The sidewalk slope of 14.55%, all combined with the leaning tree, creates a dangerous condition for pedestrian safety.
30 seconds.
The proposal seeks to abate the hazardous conditions present within the street improvement permit and replanting a new street tree. Our client is also more than willing to add additional street trees to another agreed location. We have sent a letter of support of the tree removal from the neighbor to your department. On May 28th, we received confirmation from Urban Forestry that the payment was all that was required to release as an approved site permit. The subsequent denial has led us here. The owner, a local builder who has helped in adding many new street trees to the San Francisco Urban Forest, will greatly appreciate the opportunity to continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, we just heard from the representative of the applicant there. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item? I have a couple of raised hands.
Sorry, do I respond now to the applicant or?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. Do you mind if I share my screen again to respond?
Sure.
Okay. Let me try. And let me just make sure I'm sharing the right screen here.
Okay.
I think it's this one. Yes. So it was mentioned that there was a wind tunnel which causes leaves to build up. That would be the property owner's responsibility as per city code to maintain the area in front of their property, just like any other area of sidewalk. So they do need to keep that area clean of litter, and that includes leaf litter for passersby. This is true for anyone who has a tree in front of their property. Leaves fall. They are trees are living creatures. And so we do expect property owners. I'm a property owner in San Francisco. I regularly blow the leaves and sweep the leaves to ensure that the area is passable, and this is required by city code in San Francisco. In terms of the passing by, I believe the presentation showed that there was uplift here, and then that the tree kind of overhangs this area, and so there was less than 3 feet to pass between the sidewalk uplift and the tree. The public works, of course, is responsible for maintaining this sidewalk uplift, and the area is planned for repair pending the decision of the removal of this tree of the hearing. And the path of travel that we look at is the main path of travel down the sidewalk. So that would be the path of travel from corner to corner. And it doesn't include kind of secondary tributaries of that path of travel. So this main path of travel, if we were to, for example, expand the basin, which we can expand the basin, it has been done further down to accommodate those tree roots so that we don't have to cut them. We can expand the basin as the as the applicant stated, to a path of travel that is at minimum, very, very minimum, 3 feet across. And this definitely exceeds that. So each of these sidewalk squares is approximately 3 feet across. So even this path of travel here that exists already is well within department standards and requirements. So we could expand the basin further. And again, this helps to reduce the impacts of the lean, because even if they can't see the lean above, someone's not going to walk through the basin of the tree if they see it has been expanded to that level there. So that's my my response to those two comments.
Thank you, Ms.
thank you.
Mona. Did you mention in your presentation the age of this tree?
This tree was planted in 2009, just based on the Google Street View records. So it's approximately 16 years old.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
We have a couple of hands raised. When you're ready. I'm
Kirk
calling on
Smith,
Kirk
can
Smith.
you, Kirk Smith, can you
Yeah,
unmute
I'm
yourself,
ready
please?
to talk. I just saw the unmute sign.
Yes,
So
yes, okay.
I'm relieved because the notice was wrapped around a tree that's only about 100 feet from me. I've lived in San Francisco since 1987, which would be about 38 years. And that tree is at the corner of Jones and Broadway. So I'm relieved that it's not that one, but I know this
Sorry.
one as well.
Just before we go any further, because I don't want to confuse things, I do want to, these are two separate cases. That tree is proposed for removal separately. So I had been called out to inspect that tree. So I just don't want it to go any further, that there are 2 trees at this near this location. One was applied for removal at 1645 Jones, and the street tree on the corner that has a severe lean is proposed for removal, and that posting period is still open. I inspected that tree separately and determined that it rose to the level of removal by our department. So that would be a separate case.
That isn't what it said on the notice. It said that staff did not want to remove the tree. Broadway and Jones tree
I see.
at the
I
corner.
see. Okay. So
It
yes.
was
So
confusing. You also put 2 notices up there with 2 different addresses wrapped around that same tree. I'm talking about the second notice, which said staff has recommended
I
not
see.
to remove the tree.
Okay.
I see.
So Mr. Smith, were you commenting on the 1645 Jones Street?
Well, I'm not sure which tree we're talking about, but I can comment on both. I'm concerned about the one at Broadway and Jones. She now says that this is postponed to some other date. I'm just looking at that, but I can comment on both. I can comment on the one that you're talking about right now.
Just on the one that we're talking about right now.
All right, the one that you're talking about right now.
Thank you.
I'm 75 years old. I've lived here for 38 years.
Okay.
It's just around the corner from me. I know that tree very well. I know all the trees up and down Broadway and Jones Street here. no way would anybody ever bump their head on that tree walking by. I don't drive a car, so I get my groceries. I have a bag on both shoulders walking up there. I've never had a problem, never even thought about it. Never had a problem walking up and down there or any problem with the sidewalk there. The tree is extraordinary. It's very healthy. It stands in front of a backyard that's full of beautiful landscaping and flowers and bushes and trees. Apparently, this person wants to put another apartment building in that space, which is a travesty of its own. But there's no need to remove this tree. It's not interfering with anyone. If there's any problem there on the sidewalk, I don't know what it would be. But I've been on a jury trial 20 years ago where somebody came running up the street, tripped and stumbled and wanted to sue the city for about $1.5 million. Sidewalks all over San Francisco are uneven and broken. It's due to earthquakes, it's due to age, it's due to lack of maintenance, it's due to whatever. People obviously, when they're walking around, have to pay attention to what they're doing. It's not a tree's fault if it uplifts the sidewalk slightly. I'm all with Noah on this. I'm also all with Josh on the gray versus green business. I'm a little bit alarmed at the urban forestry business. Seems like they're more interested in cutting down trees than in maintaining them, pruning them, revitalizing them. But this particular tree, this one, there's no reason whatsoever to remove this tree other than the convenience for this guy that apparently is trying to build something there. So that would be my comment on that. And I also look forward to commenting on the one on Broadway and Jones, which is even worse, should be a landmark tree, one of the most gorgeous trees in all of Russian Hill. And I took some pictures of that and shared them with you in an email that I mailed in on Saturday and got a reply to. So that would be
Mr.
on
Smith, we need to just stick with speaking about 1645 Jones at this hearing. And we will notify you for the other one.
All right, well,
when-
that's my comment on 1645 Jones, which I'm completely familiar with. As familiar as I am with Broadway and Jones Street.
Thank you. The next speaker is, I see a message in my chat that the owner is here and would like to speak. Can you please raise your hand? Because I don't see a name matching what you wrote, what they wrote in the chat. So if you would like to speak, please raise your hand. Okay. It seems like they're having some technical difficulty or something. He is on the call. Is he calling by telephone? Is it a phone number? I do have 3 phone numbers listed. Yes, okay. So if it's the phone number and ending in 152, please raise your hand. Or is it 317 or 937? Those are the 3 numbers I see. They would put *9 to raise their hand on the telephone. You will press the star button and then 9. Okay, here we go. Hello, caller. Are you able to hear me? Now you press *6 to unmute yourself.
6.
Yes, now I can hear you.
Hi.
Yes.
Am I heard? Am I?
Yes,
Okay.
we
I
are
don't
able.
have the, good evening. Thank you all for your presentations. My name is Adamo Campagna. I am the property owner of 1645 Jones. We have a site permit for 2 units to be built in that vacant lot, which is not a backyard. I guess I'm some guy. I'm a local builder. I've been a builder in San Francisco for 25 years. I've probably built homes or buildings or renovated things for friends and family that are probably on this call at That's how long I've been a builder in San Francisco. I have grew up on a lot of property in Pacifica. My family used to own 100 acres. I have planted with my father thousands
Are you
of trees.
still there, caller? I'm unable to hear you.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I've planted thousands of trees with my family on our family property in Pacifica. I appreciate Allegra's presentation. I do disagree with it. The sidewalk is very steep there. There's a lean in the tree. There's a gouge out of it. The neighbors to the right have complained about that tree and a couple of the other trees on that street. You know, I see this as a mitigated negative declaration of, you know, tree like for like, one tree removal for something as substantial or better for the location. I'd like to work with the Bureau of Urban Forestry to either plant a new tree there or multiple locations to help mitigate to mitigate the negative declaration that's here. If you really look closely at the curb there, and this tree is only 16 years old, it's hardly a heritage tree in San Francisco or even where other towns that I've worked in. The sidewalk, not the sidewalk, my apologies, the curb itself has already been replaced. And the only reason why that curb has been replaced is because one of those roots took out the old granite curb and splayed it off. If you take a really good look at the downhill portion of that, and also the roots are going uphill to the other two trees that are on the corner that obviously we're not discussing here tonight.
30 seconds.
Yep. So I appreciate the time to speak and like to work with the city about mitigating the negative declaration of not removing the tree and adding a tree. The construction itself, whether there's a garage on the building or not, it will absolutely undermine the tree. The utilities are going to go within a foot or two of that tree itself. If you deny the application would still be approved on the planning side without a garage. It's been 4.5 years. The City of San Francisco Building and Planning Department, this is exactly the type of construction that they're looking for housing element in San Francisco. We're trying to provide it for them. I thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple more comments from the public. Hey, Daniel, you can unmute yourself. We're ready for the next public comment from Daniel. Oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I just want to I wanted to ask the department as well. I mean, the guy wants to remove this beautiful, and I live directly across the street from it, beautiful street tree that is everything you would want in a street tree in San Francisco. She doesn't lean, no one's gotten hit. My front window looks directly at it. But why doesn't he just say he wants to remove it to build on that property? And do you give them permits to do that, to just build on the property and remove a tree? Or do you have to go through this whole thing of him making the tree a demon and the sidewalk a demon? I mean, we live on Broadway and Jones. There's huge sidewalks. So I'm just wondering why he doesn't just say he wants to tear down the tree to build a piece of property. Isn't it that simple? Anyway, that's my comment.
Thank you for your comment.
You're welcome.
Ms. Montner, do you want to respond to that? And maybe just explain quickly the process.
Yeah, so we did deny the initial application for removal was for construction of the garage and driveway. So that was the initial request for this. Once I did deny that because the tree was healthy and sustainable, then the appeal was also included a hazard designation by the appellant. So initially it was not considered a hazard in the application. And so that did happen after, and that so that was the process for this one.
And, okay, thank you. And I think what he's asking is like, for example, you stated in your initial presentation, 35-foot tall tree, appraised at $4,000. Is there any point in the process that if the applicant wants to go through with the removal, then they would have to pay for the tree?
So if the tree is approved for removal
Yes.
through overturning of the decision that was made by the department, we
Mhm.
would require the payment of the in lieu fee minus the planting of a street tree, the in lieu fee, the standard in lieu fee. So it would be $4,000, and then if we deem that there is room to plant a tree, a replacement tree there, then we would subtract that cost, the $2,590 at this point, from the $2,000, and they would plant a new tree and pay that difference in lieu fees.
Thank you so much for answering that question. I think it's one that a lot of people might have, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Do we have any additional comments from the public? By last count, I
Yes,
think
we have
at
three
least
other
2 more.
hands.
3 more, okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Nolte. You can unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening. I find it kind of interesting, the property owner talks about some other city, he's planting trees, not relevant to San Francisco, so therefore I don't really care about what he plants in some other jurisdiction. All that is helping the state of California, which is great, but it's not helping San Francisco. So if he was planting hundreds or thousands of trees in San Francisco, I'd be more interested in hearing that. Something on his property, well, I don't know what kind of property he has, and that's between him and his property. But as far as I'm concerned, that again, he's building on this, which I consider, somebody said it was a backyard. I consider it a front yard because it's facing the street on Jones. Therefore, it's the front of probably front of the building or the back of the building. It doesn't matter, but it does matter if the building on the property is being destroyed too, and you're making for a larger building on the lot. So therefore, I'm not clear which is happening here because I don't see a permit for this at this address for this current location. So I'm questioning, it hasn't even gone that far with planning to even acknowledge that this is that they're planning to put a new building at this location. So there's a number of steps that are missing here, and I would agree with Buck to deny the permit, deny the request to remove the tree because the tree is in good health, and also somebody coming along deciding to enhance the value of a property by building on a lot is not a reason to remove a tree. The tree was there first, and therefore it should stay, and you should work around the tree. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nolte, for your comments. Next speaker, presenter.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Cliff. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just note that neither the architect nor the contractor is an arborist. They aren't qualified to talk about the health of the tree. They haven't produced an arborist report, and they clearly don't understand the definition of a hazard tree. Based on the department's explanation, it seems like the applicant's approach here is to just pile on and say anything to get rid of this tree. As an attorney, I would say it may be helpful for the department to inform the architect and the applicant on the code's definition and its application. In addition to being an attorney, I'm also a certified access specialist, which means I'm certified by the California Division of the State Architect to evaluate accessibility for people with disabilities in the built environment. The city representative has already indicated that this is a 15-foot sidewalk, that the basin can be expanded. I would note that simple edge protection would further make this cane detectable. This is standard practice per the California Building Code. I also want to point out that while it wasn't explicitly stated until the applicant finally spoke, the applicant clearly wants this tree to come out for a new building. The building apparently includes a garage. That's what this is about. The tree is not a hazard. This isn't a great concern for people with disabilities. This is clearly about a driveway for a garage for a new building on private property. And while some on this call may poo-poo a 16-year-old tree, I'd like to note that I've been a volunteer planting leader with Friends of the Urban Forest for 15 years. I've spent hundreds of hours of my so-called free time trying to put more trees in the ground, and I don't appreciate a comment that a 16-year-old tree isn't valuable, because what I've learned most from all my years of volunteer work planting trees isn't just the importance of planting them, but the importance of protecting the healthy canopy that exists. It is wildly difficult for new trees on the sidewalk to establish in this city, and a healthy 16-year-old tree in good condition in San Francisco is remarkable. Our 2014 urban forest plan called for policies that preserve trees proposed for removal exactly for things like driveways. That was 15 years ago. I can't do math, 11 years ago. Our 2021 climate action plan calls for the same thing, while simultaneously noting that we were 10 years away from inevitable climate change, and that was 4 years ago. This is exactly the kind of tree that we need to be preserving, and it is really disheartening that in 2025, we're still debating the value of trees over driveways. While some of us are working our butts off to save and plant trees, now we have to sit through meetings and agenda items like this and do our best to advocate for a healthy tree so that we don't lose another public asset for a private garage. I would respectfully request the department uphold its determination to deny this application. If this isn't the type of application that should be denied, I don't know what is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klepp. Appreciate your comments. We have a couple more comments on this matter.
Can you hear me? This is Noah.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for letting me talk so many times today. I wanted to just say thank you to a few of the other callers. So this was the tree that I was calling for today, and actually, Mr. Kirk was correct that this notice was posted on the very large tree on the corner, which had me extremely concerned. About the tree at 1645, I walk past it a lot. It doesn't cause any problem. I don't think it's a hazard at all, frankly, and the pictures don't really show that it's a hazard either. But it's more about creating a garage to me. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's anything beyond that. And I also want to note that you're removing a public parking spot too, likely from this area in favor of a private parking spot. So while I'm in favor of development and making new housing, removing the tree doesn't sound like a good idea. More trees in San Francisco, I think, are better. And it sounds like I'm learning a lot on the call, but we're losing a lot of trees. And this particular corner has quite a few trees. I can see it from my window. I could walk over to this to 1645 in a matter of 5 minutes. And I just think that it doesn't seem fair to remove that tree to, and a parking spot for, private development. That doesn't seem fair to me. We have a parking spot in front of that property already, and the tree is fine. I think we're assessing, whether or not we want to remove a tree based on a lot of things that I don't think are accurate. I'm not a tree scientist or arborist, but I have common sense, and you can walk by trees that are 50, 60, 70 years old or 13 or 14 years old and see very clearly that they're not going to just fall down. It's ridiculous to say that a tree is causing a hazard when it's stood for 60, 50 years. That being said, we're talking about this 14-year-old tree. It doesn't seem like it needs to be removed. I do want to understand the next steps about the tree on the corner, though, because
30 seconds.
As Kirk mentioned, this is, I think, much more of an asset to the neighborhood. And it's very concerning that we're even considering removing that tree.
Oh,
That tree is
Mr.
of
Noah.
enormous value, as the other ones were presented today. And
yeah.
we really need to know when that hearing is going to be
Yeah, I
and
think
why
they
we're
said-
planning for removal.
Yeah, I think, Noah, thank you so much for your comments again. I think that our representative from Public Works, Ms. Allegra Mautner, indicated that that would be addressed next week. And so I think we have your contact information, and we'll let you know. Is that correct?
Yeah, that
Allegra?
one has not been scheduled yet. The
Okay.
posting period was still open, so that one is still waiting to be scheduled.
Well,
So we
the
can
the post on the tree is inaccurate, so I don't know when the hearing will be. And I think that's
we don't have the hearing scheduled yet. So we'll post a hearing notice for that tree on that tree once we have the hearing scheduled, but we have not yet scheduled that hearing.
Okay.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
one more question I had before I end is, you said something in the presentation earlier about the property owner proposing removal of the tree has to pay the difference between the removal of the tree and the new tree planted. And I'd very much like to know more details about that. How do you assess the value of those trees? I only saw one tree actually assessed or valued at $4,000. This last tree we were just talking about, but
That's
those
fine.
earlier trees, the ficus, were I think also extremely valuable. They're worth tens of thousands of dollars considering their age and the diameter of the trunks. So I'd really like to know more about that. Thanks.
Thank you, Noah, for your comments, and that's your time. Ms. Mautner, do you want to address that now, or is there a link that someplace we can direct Noah to understand?
I can quickly address it. It
Okay.
won't take that long. So we use the 10th edition landscape tree and landscape appraisal for determining the appraisal value. We only appraise trees that will be removed by construction, and that's in our code to look at that value. So and those are for removal permits rather than buff initiated. The previous ones were buff initiated, so we don't do the appraisal value there. And even if we had done an appraisal value in those previous ones, we also take into consideration the condition of the tree. So whether it has risks of failure, what the sustainability of it is in that location. So that would impact the appraisal value, even if it had been appraised, which in those cases it would not be appraised.
Thank you, Ms. Mautner. I appreciate you responding so well to that. Do we have another public comment? I think there was one more.
Yes, there's one more.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Nolte. You can unmute yourself. This is Michael Nolte.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So it comes down to a simple reality. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And, some of the issues I've heard was loss of a parking space, which again is for the many, loss of a tree, which is for the many. A driveway is for the few, because it's a private driveway. And the value on private property would be only for a few. And obviously, it's been noted as being a healthy tree, so it has more life to give to the community. So and overall, trees are something that San Francisco needs. There needs to be more and more trees planted and preserved in San Francisco. We've lost so many since the city took over the sidewalk trees in San Francisco. So I'm all in favor of the keeping the tree and or mitigation if the tree is for some reason taken away. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nolte. If there are no more public comments on this matter concerning 1645 Jones Street. I'd like to go ahead and close it out so we can move on to our last item number. No hands raised? Clerk Waiters?
No other hands.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So we're closing out order number 212013. Thank you everyone for your comments. And we have one last item to hear this evening to consider removal of 10 street trees with replacement located at a project site adjacent to 600 through 700 Velasco Avenue. Public Works, we ready for your presentation?
Yes, so we are on to order number 212014, 6 to 700 Velasco Avenue. This is to consider the removal of 10 street trees with replacement. Trees can be replanted around the project site adjacent to 6 to 700 Velasco Ave. The staff has approved the removals and the public has protested. So the trees proposed for removal are within the 10-foot public right-of-way. These trees are considered street trees, and the trees proposed to be removed are due to construction for new affordable housing. The trees will not survive the construction. There are no site plans developed for blocks A and 8B at this time, but Buff will continue to work with the property owner to determine any requirements for those properties. So this is the view of from Velasco Street to the proposed development. It is important to note that the district attorney has decided that the street trees in lieu fee, due to the in-kind provision of street trees in the project, this fee is waived for the entire project, including all project housing units and commercial retail uses. There is a provision in our code which dictates that the director can decide to waive any fees for extenuating circumstances. So the first tree being considered is 600 Velasco Ave, tree number 1. Its height is approximately 65 feet. It has a trunk diameter of 53 inches, and it although considered in good condition, does have poor structure due to codominant stems and the particular species profile of weak branch attachments. So this is the tree here, the large tree. We can see that there are 2 codominant stems with significant included bark. And given the species profile of developing rot and decay in these kinds of unions, this does put the tree at an elevated risk of failure. This is another view of the tree. Again, we can see the codominant stems and its large stature, that it does have the potential to take out high voltage power lines and conceivably some of the proposed units, as well as pedestrians, cars, etc. The second tree is tree number 2 at 600 Velasco Ave. This tree has an estimated height of approximately 50 feet. It has 3 stems, which have 26 inches, 15 inches, and 7 inches of trunk diameter. The condition is fair, and the main deficiencies are its poor structure, which is characterized by the poor unions and past failures that have been removed and are resprouting. This is the tree here. We can see the several stems with poor unions, which likely have decay present given the species profile and similar unions. The third tree is tree number 3 at 600 Velasco Ave, also a blue gum eucalyptus and approximately 50 feet tall with a trunk diameter of 32 inches. The condition is fair. Its deficiencies include poor structure, including overextended branches and high unions high and poor unions high in the canopy. We can see here we have a sinuous trunk and a slight lean. The tree is encroaching upon this retaining wall as well. Again, here's a different view so that you can see past pruning cuts with poor attachments or possible past failures at these locations, which could indicate active decay. Our fourth tree is the eucalyptus at site number 4 at 600 Velasco Ave. The tree height is approximately 55 feet with a trunk diameter of 51 inches, and the condition is good, but with poor structure typical of this species. We can see the tree is here. Obviously, it has very good vigor, but we can even see here that we have multiple stems, and this species does have increased risk of failure. We can see the retaining walls that it's encroaching. The soil space is very limited, which can also increase the risk of failure for trees. Our next tree is tree number 6 at 600 Velasco Ave. This tree is approximately 15 feet tall with 2 major trunks of 5 and 6 inches each. The condition is fair given the poor structure, but the good vigor. Here's another view of the tree from a different angle. The next tree is address 700 Velasco Ave in our database, tree number 1. The approximate tree height is 25 feet with a DBH of 11 inches. The condition is fair, characterized by poor structure and fair vigor. You can see the codominant stems. There's tight unions here, which tend to be more at risk of failure. You can see that the canopy is chlorotic. These leaves should be a dark forest green, which is typical of a magnolia species. And here instead we see a very yellow leaf color as well as a thinning canopy. We generally cannot, through a healthy magnolia canopy, see through the canopy in such a way where we see the sky behind. So it is a thinning canopy as this species is not well adapted to our climate and expects larger than typical rain and precipitation. Another picture of the tree from a different angle. Next tree is tree number 2 at 700 Velasco Ave, also Magnolia grandiflora. The tree height is 25 feet and has 2 main stems of 10 and 13 inches each. The condition is fair for similar reasons to the last one. Poor structure, including codominant stems, as well as a reduced vigor. This one might have a slightly increased vigor from the other tree. However, we can still see that there is chlorotic foliage and a thin canopy, as would be expected from a healthy, different from what would we expect of a healthy magnolia. As a closer up photo, and we can see that, you know, it's already being kind of girdled by the adjacent infrastructure. Our next tree is a third Magnolia grandiflora, tree 3 at 700 Velasco Ave, with approximate height of 25 feet. This one has many stems of 6, 8, 5, 7, and 3 inches in trunk diameter. The condition is fair with poor structure and stems which have obvious included bark. This one is slightly better vigor, so we can see less of the tree is more dense, the canopy is more dense, and the leaves are more green. However, there still is some chlorosis and dieback within the canopy, which would show that this has a reduced vigor and is not adapted to our climate. Here's that zoom in of that included bark with a lean on that second stem, which does increase the risk of failure. Tree number 4 at 700 Velasco Ave is also Magnolia. It has a height of approximately 10 feet and 2 major stems of 8 and 7 inches in trunk diameter. The condition is fair which is characterized by poor structure. We can see that the vigor of this one, like the last one, is slightly increased with a more dense canopy, but still the chlorotic leaves, which are reflective of the tree's poor adaptability to our precipitation in the Bay Area. You can see here, I zoom in on those codominant stems, less included bark than the last one, but still not great structure for a street tree. Then we have tree number, this is our final tree, which is being considered today, which is a Magnolia grandiflora, which is a southern magnolia, tree number 5 at Velasco, 700 Velasco Ave. Approximately tree height is 10 feet with two main trunks of 4 and 3 inches. The condition is fair. Again, we have poor structure with codominant stems. The vigor seems improved on this one, less sclerosis and more density of the canopy. And we can see a little bit more zoomed in. We can see those 2 main stems that we're talking about with the included bark and poor structure. And I do want to note that all these trees, based on the construction that is proposed, we do not expect the trees to survive. We expect them to be either destabilized or killed by the required construction to build affordable housing. So to be consistent with cases, similar cases that we have handled in the past, we have approved the removal of all 10 trees for this project. That concludes this portion of the hearing and my presentation for this case.
Thank you so much again, Allegra, for your presentation. Do we have members of the public who wish to comment on this last item? I see 2 hands raised. Oh, I have 7 hands raised. Okay.
Go ahead and speak. Jenny, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I've lived on Velasco Avenue for more than 10 years. I believe due to the poor structure of the trees and the weak branch attachments, especially the tall eucalyptus trees, we think this would pose a safety hazard to the pedestrians, vehicles, homes, and the power lines. This area also has a high winds, so we're afraid of the branches falling in. We have young children around too, so that's one of the safety hazards we're thinking about. The volume of the leaves that fall down too and the lack of maintenance also attract litter in the area. So something to consider. And thank you for your time. That's all my comments for now.
Thank you, Jenny, for your comments. Next.
Go ahead, Luis Miguel. You should be able to unmute yourself. I see that you are unmuted. Can you raise your volume maybe?
Yeah, can you by chance come back to me at the end?
Sure.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Nolte, John Nolte.
Good evening. I have a lot of issues here. I mean, these are street trees and therefore, I'm not clear because there's a fence behind some and then there's retaining walls and so forth. And also looking at the proposed of this property is being built. And I don't know how much bigger this lot is. So therefore, you're stating that because these are next to the street, that this side of the lot is going to be used for construction. Where I don't see that when I look at at this property. There's a large property here, and they could use any side of the property, put the crane and everything else that goes up for building these whatever is going to be put here. So my problem is that these trees could stay. Fence can come down, and also these trees can be maintained as is because these are mature trees, except for maybe the ones that the yellowing of the magnolias that we saw. Other than that, the other trees are doing fine. So I have a question about the city just just easily putting something on the deed saying that we're good because of affordable housing we can do this. This is another city department telling what another city department to do. I don't find that appropriate. Again, DPW is in charge of trees, not some other department putting a title on the deed and saying that these trees can come down. So I'm not clear why we're having this hearing if somebody's already said that the trees come down. This is not very fair to the public to have a hearing and then you see a deed saying that the trees can come down. So I have a question about why are we having one, a hearing? Two, why were the trees posted? And three, why you have a deed saying that the trees are all going to come down because somebody doesn't know how to build in San Francisco? I find that very, I don't see it. There are alternatives to how this project can be put together without destroying the sidewalk or the location of where some of these trees are at, and securing these trees for future generations of San Franciscans. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nolte. Are we ready for the next person's comments?
Yes, Scott Schiffer, you may unmute yourself, please.
Hi, thank you. Happy to be here. I'm Scott Schiffer. I'm with Mercy Housing. We are the developer of this property, and we're working with the San Francisco Mayor's Housing of Community and Development, MOCD, for this Sunnydale Hope SF affordable housing master plan development. It will include over 1,000 homes for affordable for residents experiencing low income, disability, and seniors. So, and it's currently the Sunnydale community for low income residents. So we're redeveloping the whole site. This is in one area where there will be 2 separate buildings. There's going to be over 20 buildings in total. And each building will include, I would say, up to 50 to 100 trees. So I know that we are removing these 10 trees from this one specific area, but overall, the Sunnydale community is very sparsely vegetated with regards to trees. So we're going to be providing many more trees than currently exist. I know Mr. Nolte had made some comments about this specific spot, but this master plan development, like I said, will include over 20 buildings in total. So in order to get as many affordable housing or affordable homes to as many people in this area, we had to unfortunately take these trees out. But again, like I said, we are going to be replacing them and then adding many more trees. The only other things that I wanted to say was that this will come online, I think, for this project, I think 2027, 2028 for this area. And I also want to say, just with regards to Jenny's comments on the high winds, where, these were things that were taken into consideration with our landscape design, and that we will be designing with trees that do hold up to high winds. So I think, as she said, it seems like it's currently a risk for Sunnydale residents, where we took that into consideration. And we also have our arborist on to field any questions. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Scott. Who do we have next? Oh, 6 more. Okay.
I'm sorry, I was muted. We have Stephen Zong. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Steven. I'm here in full support of proposed removal and replacement of street along the 600 Velasco Avenue. I have lived in Velasco Avenue near the corner of Castillo Street for over 14 years. And my home is one of the most directly impacted by these trees. as it is be just right next to the location. The reasons are, so the leaves regularly collected on my roof, as we are the one that's just right next to it, and it requiring cleaning every 2 months. For many years, my father, who is age 72, and I have to climb using the heavy ladder to clean them on our rooftop, which is increasingly unsafe as we age. If the leaves are not removed promptly, they trap moisture, water, and shorten the lifespan of our roof and may cause a long-term damage. This raises an important question. If we are unable to clean it by ourselves, will the city take responsibility for the cleaning costs or for the reduced life expectancy of our rooftop caused by those trees? Second, and it's most importantly, these trees pose a serious danger to the pedestrians due to the falling branches. A few years ago, my mom was nearly hit by a large branch. It's approximately 5 feet long and 3 inches diameter. They fell just 1 foot in front of her while she's walking to get the public bus. If she had been only a step closer, the consequence could have been life-threatening. Since then, I told my mom to walk on the other side of streets whenever she passed by to prevent a similar incident. Unfortunately, in the past 14 years I have been living there, I never seen a city trying to trim or manage those branches. Given the size and the age of those trees, along with safety risks, the property damage concern, I strongly urge the city to move forward with their removal and replacement. So thank you for listening to the homeowner who has lived with this situation for many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zong, for your comments. We have a couple more folks who'd like to make comments this evening. Next up, please, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, Josh.
Thanks. Yeah, hi. I mentioned at the beginning of this hearing that we have one of the smallest tree canopies of any major city in the United States. And that number, to be clear, is 13.7% tree canopy. This particular neighborhood has a 4.2% tree canopy. And after this, that's going to be even worse. What I didn't hear was what, if any, consideration was done to preserve the trees that are in good condition, to integrate them into construction, to create affordable housing with mature trees in place so that people who need affordable housing also have access to mature green spaces with shade and songbirds and hummingbirds in San Francisco's living ecosystem. I can tell you what consideration was probably done, and that's none, because that's how we approach development in San Francisco. In San Francisco, all we think about is square footage. We treat these spaces like blank parcels with nothing on them. We ignore what life already exists there and how we may work with and coexist with that life. And I know this because this is what we do every single time. Look at what we did at 1100 Connecticut Street just a few years ago. I begged for just a few of those trees to be preserved, but instead dozens of large mature trees went down, same part of the city, same reason, same result. One of these days, we may realize that we should have saved the healthy trees that we had, that we could have found a way to build in harmony with our ecosystem. But my guess is that by the time we start doing this, it's going to be too late. We're going to be desperate for trees in our neighborhood, but it's going to be too late. So I'll finish my comment by mentioning an article that I read recently that as we approach inevitable climate change, our new societal classes are going to be the cooled and the cooked, meaning that we will be divided between those who are able to find relief from climate swings and those who are not. And overwhelmingly, the people who are able to find relief are those with money. They are the cooled. And those who are the cooked, that's the poor. Those are the people who will have inequitable access to shade. They are the ones who have to pay more for their utilities because they don't have tree canopy to cool their homes. They are the ones who will have worse health outcomes because they don't have trees to filter their air. It's the very people this development is intended to benefit who will bear the brunt of Mercy Housing's short-sighted decisions. Because if we were really thinking about the people who need this housing, we wouldn't just be thinking about square footage. We'd also be thinking about their health and their futures, their access to cool shade and green spaces. Unfortunately, it's clear we're still not thinking of affordable housing in San Francisco that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clip. We have a couple more comments.
Caller ending in 317, you can press *9. Oh, you already raised your hand. *6 to unmute yourself, please. Caller ending, whose number is ending in 317. You'll unmute yourself by pressing *6. Go ahead and speak, caller.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. You will have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Alfredo, and then we just live next to the project, the one they're going to cut down the trees. But I just want to say those trees, they really damage our home. Like the neighbor, one of the neighbors said, we need to put a lot of time like cleaning the roof, cleaning the streets, because they really, I believe they really hazard, because we hear like branches squeezing. One of the trees is leaning to our property. And then, so like I said, we just spend a lot of time like just cleaning, and then we see people walking, and then just kind of just see people hard working, because it's like a lot of leaves. And thank you for my comment.
Thank you, sir. Next up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is John Potus. I'm a landscape architect on the design team for the developer. And as a landscape architect on the project, we take very seriously adding to the tree canopy of the neighborhood as much as possible. We coordinate with the Bureau of Urban Forestry, as well as all of the other utilities that supply water, sewer, electricity to the residents of the neighborhood. And we ensure through the design process and compromise, as many trees as possible are able to be placed in the streets and on the properties, while adhering to proper clearances from the utilities, so that the trees don't have to be removed because of problems that develop in the future, and that the trees can grow as much as possible, become healthy and beneficial assets to the neighborhood. And so, I appreciate the time to talk about this, but basically we're trying to put as many trees in as we can. Thank you.
Mr. Potus, thank you for your comments. I have a quick question, since you're the landscape architect for the development, right? Correct?
I'm on several of the projects in the neighborhood, redeveloping an entire neighborhood. As far as the design of the actual property that these trees are on, I'm not on that project. It's still in the process of being developed, so we don't have any plans yet. And I hope to be on the project, but it hasn't been decided who's designing it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
We're ready for our next speaker. Ms. Allegra, I have a question for you before we close out about this item.
Do you want to wait until
Remind me later. I
Okay.
can wait till later to
Great.
after everyone's spoken. Yeah, I don't want to disrupt the flow.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr.
Hello,
Costello.
yeah. Yeah, my name is Larry Costello. I'm a consulting arborist in San Francisco. And I inspected the trees and assessed the trees in terms of their condition. And I have to say I concur with Allegra Montner's assessment of the trees. The blue gum in particular are structurally very weak. They have a high potential for failure for the reasons Allegra mentioned. Codominant stems, weak attachments, some have decay in the attachments. If they were to fail, and I think there is a good possibility or probability that they will fail in a significant wind, the consequences would be very severe. There are power lines there, parked cars, pedestrians, homes, and so on. So I think that those can be considered to be hazardous trees in my view. The magnolias are in poor condition, both in terms of health and in structure by and large. As you can see in some of the photos, they have multiple stems, chlorotic leaves, sparse canopies. They're very much injured by the wind, and they really have a very low suitability for preservation rating. So I think that it'd be much preferable to replace these trees with new trees that can be cultivated and developed into good health and also strong structure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costello. We have a couple more comments. Our clerk will let you know when it's your turn.
Luis Miguel, go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Hi there. My name is Luis Miguel. I grew up right here on Velasco Street. And as much as I appreciate what it is that Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Pottis and Costello have, brought up as arguments as far as, the structure of the trees and the bringing in new trees. For me, as much as I appreciate, the redevelopment and bringing in new homes, I feel that one thing that has been overlooked is, the people that are already here and families that already exist here and, the spaces that we grew up with and the fact that, these are beautiful trees that have been here for 40, 50 years. And, there's provides shade and nice space to hang out. And we're working to redevelop the space across the street to hopefully have a community garden there. And I would muchly appreciate having more of a natural setting there rather than the proposed townhomes for that location. And as well as, so the magnolia trees, I can understand those needing to be replaced. But as far as the eucalyptus ones, I feel like there's a few of them that were addressed as part of the 600 Velasco address. But there's still more trees there. So I was just wondering, is there a plan to only cut down a few and leave others? Or is the plan to get rid of that whole big canopy of the eucalyptus? Or what that's looking like? And also my question to the neighbors is if I was able to help with mitigating all the leaves and, maybe trimming some of the limbs that may have a potential for falling, would that then, be the only issues that they would be concerned with and, be more towards keeping these trees in our neighborhood where we don't have very much access to, big greenery like that?
Thank you, Louise. Was that the end of your comments
Yes.
and questions? Okay, I'm making note of them. I think that concerning coordinating with your neighbors, you should definitely stay in contact with your district supervisor, any community groups that are participating or in partnership with the development at Mercy Housing to see what could be done. And then I think to answer your question about the number of trees that they were discussing, I think we're talking specifically about the 10 that were mentioned in the presentation. I don't know if you were not on the call yet to cover that, but does that answer your question or?
I can
I
also
was
speak to that.
I was
Okay,
gonna
thank you,
say,
Megan.
a part of those 10 though were the magnolia trees, right? Like the
Yes.
eucalyptus trees, there's about
Mhm.
like 12 to 15
Yes.
separate trees of the eucalyptus themselves.
Yeah, so in response to that, I would say that I'm not exactly sure about those trees which were not included in the hearing because I was not giving notes on them, but it does appear that they are set back from the public right of way and they may not be under our jurisdiction for permit for removal. So our jurisdiction only extends within the existing public right of way and then within 10 feet of that public right of way. So it may be that the remaining trees which you are concerned about may be outside of our jurisdiction and ability to either deny or approve a removal permit. So I'm not exactly sure which trees you speak of because I wasn't the inspecting arborist who approved the removal of the trees that came across our desk, but that may be why you're not seeing all of the trees there.
And
Okay. Hello? Can you hear me?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. And then who would have jurisdiction over those other trees?
Well, I think she meant they're on private property, correct?
Yes,
Alexandra?
unfortunately, in the city of San Francisco, we don't have a say over whether people can remove trees that are outside of that jurisdiction of the public right of way and then 10 feet of that public right of way. So anyone can remove a tree if it is on private property and it is not within 10 feet of a public right of way. So people can remove trees in their backyard without even addressing us. So it's not our purview. And unfortunately, we have no jurisdiction.
And so to be clear, Louise, these trees that are in question that are being removed are on private property, but within our purview, right? Because they're within 10 feet
Based
of
on
right away.
based on what the information that I was provided by the inspecting arborist, all of these are actually street trees. So even though, so that means that and I think that's what's in the hearing order. Even though the public right of way, what may be occurring here and what is very common with large developments is and other right of ways within the city is that the sidewalk is paved. That first 6 feet of the sidewalk is paved, and then our public right of way actually extends past that by another 4 feet. So you can see that the trunks of the tree are within that first 4 feet. So that would be considered all public right of way, even though it appears that it is on public or private property. So in these cases, I believe that's what's going on here is that only the first 6 feet were paved, and then either a sidewalk encroachment permit was approved for the fence there, or some other agreement has been made with the property owner that they are allowed to have a fence even within the public right of way, so that even though it appears that it's on private property, is actually within the public right of way.
In regard to that, there's also a pathway that is right there, right off of the end of Castillo that, connects to the other side of Sunnydale. And I mean, that is a public access pathway as well, right? So the trees next to that would then be a part of your jurisdiction?
I'm not sure. I'm not looking at the jurisdictional maps at the moment. And you would have to contact the inspector for the area to determine those right of ways. Or sorry, I should have let him address you or let them
No,
address you.
it's okay. Mr. Louise, can you put your questions in? Are you on your phone or on your computer?
I'm on a laptop right now.
You're on a laptop? Okay. Clerk Waiters, is there a way for him he should email urbanforestry@sfdpw.org, correct?
That's correct.
with
I
your
will-
questions.
I will
And then-
place it again in the chat, and so
Yeah,
for everyone
thank
to
you.
see in the chat.
And we'll follow up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's your time, Mr. Luis. Thank you so much. But definitely, and this goes for anyone else too, if there are additional questions, you can email urbanforestry@sfdpw.org. And we'll,
And we have one more speaker raising their hand.
okay, thank you.
Yes, Michael Nolte here. I heard some interesting comments in this with this item. People talking about what happens to trees when they become sort of a nuisance. Well, that happens with all trees. You know, branches fall, leaves fall, and it's kind of funny because if the development is going to put in more trees, which they've claimed to do, then there'll be more leaves, at least, if not branches, over the years. What I haven't heard in this presentation is really the what kind of replacement trees, what kind of a replacement plan, just some vague idea that there will be a development and there will be some sort of replacement done, and no real design of where the trees will go, and no, so it's kind of like a half presentation that it would, of course, the trees, if new trees are put in, they have to be not be next to any underground wiring or anything like that. So it was very vague being discussed, and yes, everybody would like to see more affordable housing, but at the same time, it seems like this is premature. I don't know what their timeline is for the development. I mean, do they need these trees to be removed right away? I mean, is this like the last step? So, it's kind of curious. I mean, they said that, it'll take a couple of years before this developed to be done anyway. So, kind of puzzled about this, because once you take away the trees, they're not going to be put back until the development's fully put together. So you'll be without the habitat of the trees if they're removed for at least probably 2 years to fully construct the full development. All right, I think the neighborhood needs to understand exactly what's going on here and how long it's going to take, which hasn't been really presented. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nolte, for your comments. Mr. Scott Schiffer, is there a place where public can go, the neighborhood folks and others who are on this call, to get more information about number of trees, species, what the timeline is for the planting and whatnot?
Yeah, there's our Sunnydale website. I can provide that in the chat really quick. I think it's gosunnydale.org, but I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. That provides updates to the Sunnydale residents about upcoming developments and plans and everything. So I don't know if that's what you're looking for in particular.
Yeah, Mr. Nolte has some very specific questions though about the number of trees and where and when.
Yeah, again, we don't have these.
You don't
Yeah,
have
we
that
don't have
detail available yet.
Those plans are not fully fleshed out. I mean, this is it's a master plan development that I don't think is anticipated to be complete till for another 10 years. So we're building projects as we go. We've already built, I believe, 4. We've built a community center, and those have all included, a significant increase in street trees that weren't there before. Like in the chat, I mentioned just the one project that I'm working on right now. We have over 100 trees planned for that one alone, and there's going to be.
But that's not this one, right?
What's that?
That's not this one. That's
not this one.
Okay.
we don't have, again, we don't have the plans for this specific location yet.
Okay.
But I can say that each project, there will be, right now, there's kind of a temporary plans that we're looking at 2 different buildings in that location. Each building, you know, if we kind of base it on the building that I'm working on now, we'll have 50 to 100 trees, you know, with the landscape design.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we're losing, I guess, in that little corner, those trees, but we're adding a lot more, and we're taking a lot of the neighborhood comments into consideration. We have monthly meetings at the community center for Sunnydale residents and have incorporated a lot of their input on the design. I mean, every project they've come up with a name, and again, we have monthly updates. We have our website, and let me put that website in the chat too.
Okay. I see one here, gosunnydale.org.
Yeah, and I think it's something
Sunnydale.
with project updates, but let me just see really quick. I think I can get that.
Okay. And Clerk Waiters, do we have any additional comments of anyone who has not spoken yet left remaining?
No, there are no other hands.
Okay. So Scott, we're just waiting on you to provide that last web page or website.
Yeah, let me see.
Would you like me to answer the question you had as well?
Sure. Which one?
Yeah.
Which
You said
question?
to remind you that you had a question.
Oh, thank you. It was where was it? You may or may not be able to answer. It might be a Scott question, but it was one, I think it was the other Mr. Nolte. I think it was John, had a question about what's been done to keep or preserve the trees that we know of. What, if anything, has been done? And
Yeah.
what considerations have been made?
Yes.
Yes.
I can absolutely speak to why we would approve removal in these sorts of cases, given consideration. So, you know, we don't just deny or approve trees based on the construction that is occurring. We also take into consideration the condition of the tree that's being applied for removal, not only just for the long-term sustainability of that tree in that location, but also its ability to withstand the impacts of the proposed construction. And that's going to vary from tree to tree and the construction that's proposed around it. For some trees, any disturbance of the root zone or disturbance of the soil in the general area can instigate the decline of the tree, depending on its condition. In this instance, all of these trees are in fair to poor condition. I think there were a couple that were listed as good condition, but may have been much smaller trees. And so, you know, in those sorts of cases, we would approve removal because as was posed at the very beginning of my presentation, if the tree can be replaced in kind within a reasonable period of time, then we would consider the required construction to the benefits of that construction to outweigh the benefits of the tree that that exists there. And so, as was indicated in the majority of these cases, the trees were either in declining health, poorly adapted to our climate, or had poor imminent poor structure, which could lead to failures, this sort of thing. So we consider all of those when we're determining whether we approve a tree for removal. If we're trying to save a tree, but then this tree is not very good to save in the long term, then what are we spending our resources trying to retain a tree that does not provide benefits without an increased risk of failure that outweighs those benefits? So I hope that answers your question.
It did. Thank you very much. Okay, it looks like we got our website, gosunnydale.org. It's in the group chat /WP-content uploads. Mercy Housing. There's some FAQs there. So I want to just thank everyone. This was a long hearing, but very, very necessary. I want to thank everyone for participating. Those of you who've stayed on the call all this time. I want to especially thank our clerk and our Public Works representatives, Ms. Allegra Montner and Ms. Cerise Waiters. And before I close out our last, I'm actually closing out this last item. Sorry, it's 212014. If there are any members of the public who arrived late and did not get a chance to address an item on this agenda, general public comments or anything, please make yourself known. If you've spoken already, you will not be allowed to speak again. This is for those who may have come late and who didn't have a chance to speak. So again, this is public comments. General public comments.
I do, sorry to interrupt, but I do just want to correct the record just so everyone knows that my last name is Mautner.
Mautner.
Yeah, it's fine, no problem, but I just wanted to just for the
Sorry,
future.
thank
No
you,
worries.
Mautner. Thank you. I see a hand raised.
There are no other hands of persons who have not spoken. Everyone has already had the chance to speak.
Okay, even if it's on a different item, they're not allowed to speak? Because the way I'm reading it is if it's a general public comment. Okay, you're the expert, so I'm gonna defer to you. Mr. Bermudez, we're going to get ready to close this out, but if you have additional comments or questions, please email our Bureau of Urban Forestry, and it's in the group chat. So thank
It
you.
looks like that he's
Okay,
just
he
trying
says
to, oh, yeah.
he's not able to see the websites in the chat.
Oh,
so if you email us at urbanforestry@sfdpw and give us a email address for you, we can send that information back to you. So again, that's Urban Forestry, URBANFORESTRY at SF for San Francisco, D like department, PW like public works.org. So again, that's urban forestry at sfdpw.org. And then we will return the information to you.
Thank you again, Clerk Waiters. I appreciate everyone. Have a great evening. If there are no more public comments, I'm closing this hearing. Hearing is now closed. Thank you and good night.